Hi YouTube, I'm here to talk to you about the reasoning behind 9/11 and several things that did seem off to the public's view, and several things that did take place that quite interested me in researching. And I just want to say I am not a skeptic, I am a man that keeps an open mind about everything. The thing was that prior to 9/11, there was a reasoning that it was actually a planned attack, which in fact all the links and points that took place do point towards that speculation. As we know, George Bush, 3 months after the 9/11 attack, was interviewed, and a certain strange part of the interview arose, the fact that George Bush himself already knew about the attack. This is part of a interview that took place 3 months after the attack in public.
I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. The TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And I said it must have been a horrible accident.
Now, how was he able to see this footage when it was never released? The only footage of the first plane hitting the tower was actually released 3 days after the event that took place. So this does raise a speculation that George Bush was actually quite aware of the situation and would have been one of the people that was behind that attack itself. As we look into the prior financial situation of United States government and the United States itself, the Wall Street was not actually doing quite well. It was looking on the verge of actual collapse. Now the thing was that if we all know that Iraq had a vast amount of oil, gold, resources basically that would be able to slow down that collapse for at least the next 8 to 9 years. But as we saw prior to this year and last year, it actually did take place in that time frame. Now the thing is, now when the 9/11 happened and the first plane actually hit the towers, we saw a fireball going out of blowing out part of the tower, and the thing that was most interesting is the fact this fireball actually went out through the entry and the secondary explosion source that took place. It was simultaneous. Now the thing is, this kind of explosion is not usually the sort of effect you would see from a plane exploding and the actual fuel igniting. This was more of a thermonuclear weapon on a smaller scale explosion. A thermonuclear weapon is usually a weapon that implodes, and when it explodes it produces a vast fireball of power basically that incinerates anything within it. That is why the 10,000 gallons of engine fuel that was on the plane was incinerated. The one that was left, the little bit that was left over, just acted as an ignition source for the fire to burn within the building itself. Now the interesting thing is that this weapon was actually set off by a seismic detonator, something that would take in a vibrational shock of anything that it is located on, and to a certain point it would make the bomb go off. So the bomb itself would have been located in the cockpit, in the actual compartment where the brains of the plane are. As may you know, that's why the cockpit usually contains a plane engineer. Now, prior to 9/11, we do know that the main thing was before the towers went down, there were secondary explosions. And the thing was, some of those explosions were 1 second after another, simultaneously at a specific time rate going off. However, the first 2 explosives went off. One was at 3 seconds, the other one was at 2 seconds. And the reasoning behind that time off was the damage that was done to the circuit of those two explosives, which were located on the top floors by the plane hitting the building. These explosives are usually planted by a special branch of the military. This sort of military branch is known to be as Black Ops. They're known as BOs, PsyOps, many names to be speculated around basically. These are sort of units that have a higher clearance than the special forces themselves. The team usually consists of 9 men. 3 or 4 of those men are usually demolition experts that can pretty much take down a building without damage to other assets around that building. Now, the thing behind that explosion was that this was controlled. This was a controlled explosion that resulted in a specific collapse without damaging anything else around it. As the building went down, you could just see windows, certain floors, huge windows just popping out one at a time, 1 second after another, and after those explosions finished, the building just went down. It's like a powerhouse going down without an actual realization of what happened. This was done as a diversion, distraction, and destruction. The diversion was to show those explosions going off. The distraction was the building going down. And the destruction was the fact that the other charges were being set off on the second tower, resulting in the public not even seeing the second tower explosions going off, which results in a speculation as something that is trained in the military: a diversion, distraction, and a destruction. Those 3 main causes. You divert the enemy, you distract them, and then you destroy something else, which is completely not the enemy does not pay attention to. That's part of the reason why people were unable to see the second building explosions that were actually timed going off due to the smoke produced by the first one collapsing and resulting in a distraction basically. So there would be not that much of speculation. Now, this is not skepticism. This is a basic military training that is produced to the Black Ops and Special Ops units usually through their courses of training. Now, the thing is that 9/11 is actually due to that financial instability. That's why it was planned. And George Bush and the government was fully aware of that. The links would be CIA, NSA, United States Defense, several branches of Pentagon and other nations' branches of military actually as well. The fact that one of the men that is known to be goes by a covert name Ranker, he is a BO, United States United Defense agent that works in the secret sector of the military that usually puts out contracts to the Black Ops. More on the Black Ops is the fact that they are trained soldiers, but they aren't trained like other soldiers. These are more special forces, but much higher training capabilities, and they are known to being able to do things that cannot fully be explained by the standard military. This is not a speculation. This is actually a known fact that these branches have been developed since Vietnam by many sources. The public files that have been leaked about invasion of Iraq, invasion of Iran files have been known to contain several mentions of these special forces they call the Black Ops and their involvement in Iraq. Iraq itself known to have a vast amount of resources, and that is why they pretty much invaded Iraq to just sustain the financial global collapse that was going to happen 8 to 10 years later anyway, as we all have seen it happen. The main cause that many do know is the fact that Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein were linked to Al-Qaeda, and that was the given spoon of to the public to cause the hatred and the invasion of Iraq. Al-Qaeda was actually linked to the attack. However, Al-Qaeda and the military government, also several government branches of the United States itself, worked with them. Al-Qaeda and, as we know, Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein are CIA agents which were employed by the CIA branches, secret branches that carry out usual control of several countries. The sustainability of this war that was caused by 9/11 was horrifying. It caused just deaths, just deaths of civilians, military personnel, people that died in 9/11